So after making a bunch of general concept videos about StarCraft, now I just want to make a simple video about unit compositions for Protoss players. Which means in this video I will go through the main unit compositions that the Protoss Pro players use in their games. But before that I want to clarify two things. The first one is that while I want to give you a general overview in this video about the unit compositions, that also means that feel free to be creative with them. Feel free to use units that you really like and maybe add them to the compositions, or really just create your own ones. This is more meant to be like the first step, or like a general, a general guideline, as I said. This also means that they are not set in stone at all. While they are meant to deal with most of the shit that is thrown at them, in a few scenarios, for example with mutas, you wanna build units that do hard counter the units that your opponent is making. I will talk about this in more detail in matchup specific videos that I'll probably do at some point. Still, knowing these compositions will be a good starting point for both newcomers in StarCraft, but also newcomers for Protoss in specific. And from these, you can deviate very easily into your favorite units. So let's start with the video and start talking about the compositions in actuality. However, before I start, of course, I want to give a quick shout out to my Twitch. I stream every day, Mondays to Fridays, from 5 PM to 10:30 PM CEST. So come on in, feel free to check it out. Feel free to chill with us or just ask questions about the videos or anything really, in particular in StarCraft. Or anything really in general. To get started, similar to the opening video I did a few weeks ago with Protoss, you have two main compositions to go for in all of the three matchups. The core units in these compositions, no matter what matchup, stay the same, just the support units change. These compositions will be mainly mid-game compositions, be it early mid-game or late mid-game. For late game specifically and how to transition into it, I will probably make another video, because it's a whole different topic. But I want you guys to already know that if you play aggressive enough, theoretically, technically, you can punish your opponent before it gets to the late game. So the first composition we'll talk about is the tried and true Charged Out Immortal Archon, which is what most people actually prefer at the moment in all three matchups. The idea is that nothing really beats the core strength of Charged Out Immortal Archon in terms of Protoss compositions, and the resources you spend just fit very nicely into your economy, since Zealots only cost minerals while Archons only cost gas. While how to get into the composition depends on the matchup you're playing, since sometimes you have to get specific safety units, sometimes you have to go for different openings or build orders. The core stays the same, and that also means that you have some main moments of strength boost, of power boost in your army that per matchup stays the same. These moments will get you power boost are mostly based on tech timings or production timings. So it's either you get to charge, you get your Archons, you get the gateways ready so you can warp in a ton of stuff, or one of your upgrades finishes, be it +1 or +2 in PvP, or be it even +1/+1 or +2/+2 in PvT. Oftentimes surviving against an opponent means that you get that power boost right before one of their attack hits, or attacking an opponent is based on one of those power boosts finally hitting, so you attack with like 8 gateways, or you attack with charge, or you attack right when +2 finishes in PvP, for example. To talk about the main support units for Charged Out Immortal Archon, it depends on, of course, your matchup, but also on your style of play. One of the more common things that most people do is at some point add some form of AoE, be it Colossi, Disruptor, or High Templar with Storm. The thing with that is that there are disadvantages, advantages, hard counters to like any of these, and honestly in most matchups it comes down to preference, especially in PvT, while in PvZ most of us only go for Storm. This is where I would say just try out things and see what fits for you. Actually, quite a lot of players also just stay on the core Charged Out Immortal Archon and try to outpressure their opponent, because when you stay on the core units, that means you don't have to wait for a power boost like Storm or Colossi, which also might be hard countered anyways. However, with this, it is very essential that you keep the pressure on, because otherwise your opponent might be out-taking you at some point, and that's never good. Because, for example, if you stay on Charged Out Immortal Archon and your Terran opponent has a lot of ghosts and liberators, you're gonna have a bad time, and you better hope you transition somewhere before then. And if Charged Immortal Archon's power is a little bit too much for you, and you want something more dynamic, something more movement based, I've got the next composition for you, which is Stalkers with some robo support units. With a Blink Stalker focus style, you've got a much more dynamic way of playing the game, in which you can more easily punish your opponent for bad positioning or even bad builds. And together with Sentry, Disruptor and Colossi, you have a lot of range to work with to outposition your opponent. And while the zoning potential with Stalkers and Disruptors, or Stalkers and Colossi, is immense, there are two main things that you have to keep in mind when you go for this composition. Number one is that Stalkers are kinda only okay-ish against everything. While they have their huge snowballing potential and some timings in the game, and with Blink they can trade really well for a time, they do lose their trading potential very quickly when your opponent attacks somewhere. Really anywhere. Like, Zealots beat Stalkers, Marauders beat Stalkers, Roaches kinda beat Stalkers if they have enough of them, and we all know Zerg always has enough Roaches, which is why with this composition you always at some point, unless you really plan to play really aggressively, go for some robo support, be it Colossi, be it Disruptor, to have some AoE, to have some more range, you know, to support the Stalkers. Number two of the things you have to keep in mind with this composition is that the way Stalkers are priced with their 125 minerals and 50 gas, it leads to your bank being very quickly depleted on both your minerals and your gas, which makes transitioning out of Blink Stalkers a lot harder, which is also why robo units fit very well into the composition, because they have a very similar way of being priced. Again, this is where Chargers and Archons shine with their mineral only Chargers and their gas only Archons, because for example when you need a Nexus, you just don't warp in 4 Zealots and instead warp in some Archons and get the Nexus. For the supporting units, as I mentioned, it's mainly robo units, either the Colossus or the Disruptors, for the AoE, for the range, for the zoning, and of course for the way the resources are distributed between them. Of course, feel free to try around with shit, like I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Have fun with these compositions. I'm just giving a general guideline of how people are playing it at the moment. In terms of Disruptors and Colossi, both have their advantages and disadvantages, and with this style, you can go for either Disruptors, either Colossi, both, or again none, and just go for the full-on pressure style with only Blink Stalkers. So yeah, that's honestly all I wanted to talk about with these compositions. I want to give you a lot of creative freedom. Try yourself out, figure out what support units you personally enjoy and which you don't, or watch some replays of really good players that play your composition and see what they're doing with their units. And with that said, of course, thank you all for watching. I hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, do the YouTube thing of sharing, liking, subscribing, ringing the bell, and you know, all that jazz. Again, I do stream Monday to Fridays, so feel free to check out my stream. Everything else important, like my Discord, my Twitter, is linked down below. And I just hope you're going to have a great day. So yeah, peace. This would then be the moment where I would just say, this would then be my moment. What the fuck? This would then be the moment where I would just say, go for what you want to do. Go for. Why is this so hard? This would then be my moment. Wow. I gotta fucking add this. I gotta fucking add this at the end of the video. Honestly, this is bad. This is really freaking bad. Okay. Okay, hold up. Hold up. This is where I would say, just try out things and see what fits for you. Fucking finally.